Well, hi everyone. Welcome. My name is Morgan Zients. I'm the product education manager here at Jotform. Welcome to today's webinar about our new Jotform and Microsoft Teams integration. This has been a very heavily requested integration throughout the years, so we are very excited to have this available to you live finally. We hope you're excited as well. I'm hoping that if you're here, it's because you are excited and interested with this integration. So again, thanks for joining me today, and we are going to learn more about this and see it in action. All right, there we go. So quick agenda item before we move, or quick agenda before we move forward. So I have about 10 minutes of slides here where I'm going to give some background about this integration. Then, as you might be able to see here, we have my colleague Lauren Klossman on the line with us today. You may recognize Lauren if you are an enterprise user from her Lunch and Learns and other enterprise experiences that you might participate in. So she is going to be doing our demo today. And then finally, we have some time at the end of the session for questions. We also have some resources at the end. Feel free to share those questions in the Q&A at any time throughout the webinar. I can't look at them right now while I'm talking, but while Lauren is presenting, I will keep an eye on those. I'll answer anything behind the scenes that I can, and then we'll also have time for live questions at the end of the session as well. But again, share those anytime you feel inspired to have a question, to share a question. Okay, so let's kick off the content here. So starting with a little bit of background, Lauren and I are both assuming today that if you're here, you're interested in the integration piece and at least somewhat familiar both with Microsoft Teams and Jotform. But if there is anyone on the line who's not familiar with one of those platforms, brief introduction first to Teams. So Teams is a communication platform that gives your team a way to message, meet, and otherwise work together on projects, workflows. It's part of the what I'm calling the Microsoftiverse. It's integrated with the Microsoft 365 universe, and it's used by over 1 million organizations globally. So it's very broadly, widely used. Makes sense that this has been a pretty heavily requested integration. Jotform is also a powerful workflow management platform. Most things in Jotform start with a form. So you create your form and you send it out. But after that, what do you do with that form data? That's also where we come in. So there are a lot of different ways for you to manage data, export data, share it with other systems, explore that data, and use it however you need. Since both of these platforms focus on productivity, again, this is a natural partnership. So you can easily take Jotform data and documents, in this case with this integration, and use them to kick off or build out processes that you've already built into Teams, or to get rid of those and create new, smoother processes. All of this can happen without you having to manually transfer data or physically track down a colleague for a signature, or without you having to send around an email asking somebody to grab something. Really, streamlining is the name of the game here. This integration, it's really a cluster of integrations, as you'll see in just a moment. These integrations can save your team time and effort across the board, and they can ease some of those burdens that you come across when you're working collaboratively with people. So again, really streamlining, making things easier for everybody involved, giving people real-time access to data. And as I move to the next slide, I want to apologize. My apartment complex is having tree removal that just coincidentally happens to be going on right now. So if you can hear the background noise, I apologize very much for that. I wish I could have gotten them to postpone this until at least the end of the webinar. I am almost done with the slides here. I have another couple of minutes, so just bear with me. I think it's all quiet on Lauren's end, so you should be able to hear just fine during the demo. All right. With that out of the way, so now let's talk about how specifically you can use this integration or this set of integrations. There are, again, several ways that you can use both forms and your signed documents to power your Microsoft Teams workflows. And we'll be talking about those today. However, if you're a Jotform user that's already using integrations in another capacity in Jotform, you'll also see that integration there as well. So one example of that, if you're somebody that uses your tables and has an action button in tables to push data to another platform, you'll now see Microsoft Teams as one of the available integrations there as well. But again, today we're focusing on forms and sign, which are the biggest use cases. First, when it comes to forms, you can have form submissions sent to a standard or a private channel in Teams. And with that, you choose what channel that submission will go to, what the message will be called, and what information from your form will get pushed to that message. Once your channel, whomever is in the channel, receives the notification of a form submission, from there, anyone in the channel can easily review that information. They'll see what comes in. They can click on it to view the form in more detail, and whoever needs to can take whatever action necessary from there. Also with forms, if you would like a submission to go to a specific colleague in a chat, you can do that in much the same way. And if you have a form where you're booking appointments, you can also set up the integration to create a new meeting on your Microsoft Teams calendar. So that automatically invites people who need to see it, have access to that meeting right away, rather again than you having to manually create an action after you've received a request. If you're a Jotform Sign user, you have all of those same options and they function in the same way, generally speaking, except the calendar option. That's not a popular use case for Jotform Sign. But other than that, you will have the options to share with a private or public channel, as well as chat from your signed documents as well. And just to distinguish some language here, again, for those of you who might still be exploring Teams specifically, if you are newer to Teams, public channels are those that are available like to your entire group or entire organization. Private channels might be a subset, some people within the organization, and only those people can see those channels. So that might be your department or folks working on a project together. And then chats are conversations between individuals or small groups of individuals, sometimes a little bit less formal than your overall your private or public channels. I do have some use cases on the next slide, but generally speaking, in a large organization, that might mean something like your public channel is for everybody in the organization, and you might want feedback form responses to go there. A private channel might be like your sales team, and you want contact us forms to go there. And a chat might be your HR manager, and employee resource requests go directly to that person. As you might have already noticed, there are nearly infinite ways that you can use these integrations. I just shared a couple briefly. And on this slide, I have different industries and different departments that might most benefit from this, but certainly not exclusive to these groups that you see here. Basically, if you're a Teams user or you're thinking about being a Teams user, you can use this integration to cut down on any external communication and make sure that everyone has real-time information that they need. Appointments are set up with ease. So again, there's no limit on how you can use these integrations. Just to expand on a couple of examples here, if you're HR, maybe you want to use this integration to manage a job application process. So you can get a chat notification every time an application is submitted through your Jotform form. Or you can have that notification or go to the hiring team's channel so they're notified. When it's time to set up an interview, from there, you can send out your Jotform scheduling form and have meetings again automatically go to your Microsoft 365 calendar so that everybody knows when those interviews are set up. Schools might want to use the integration to ease and facilitate communication with parents. So, for example, parents might write in with a question or send in a permission slip or get a meeting or send in a meeting request with a counselor, and those can automatically go to the teacher, to the counselor, to other administrators so that everybody can work together towards student success. Sales teams I talked about briefly in the last slide. Sales teams can receive notifications once signed contracts are submitted using Jotform Sign, and they might want to take advantage elsewhere in the sales pipeline, like that example I mentioned earlier. Once somebody is a customer, you can also use this integration for IT requests. So IT is notified when somebody identifies a bug, and customer support as well. So CS knows when a question has come in and somebody needs to reach out to a customer. And last example, doctor's offices or therapists often have lots of paperwork for new patients. So patients can fill out things like intake forms through Jotform and other things that get sent to new patients. And again, that message can go to a triage channel where someone on the team can quickly evaluate and prioritize new appointment requests. Sign-in form, consent forms, medical release forms, and more can automatically be sent to specific channels so that that information is tracked and logged for each patient. That's just scratching the surface. So again, hopefully you see yourself in one of these examples. If not, again, Lauren's going to take things away in just a moment here to show you some more. Before I hand things over to Lauren, I did want to mention, so we have Lauren here today because she is a Jotform enterprise expert, and she is going to be demonstrating today these integrations in a Jotform enterprise environment. However, if you're not an enterprise user, if you're a single Jotform user, you can use these integrations in the same way. So it might look a little bit different, just generally speaking, the system itself might look a little different, but the actual integrations themselves will work the same whether you're an enterprise user and working with people on your team to create these workflows, or an individual user maybe creating workflows on behalf of your team or your group or whomever you're working with. So so that's what you're going to be seeing today. And on that note, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to mute the background noise. And Lauren, take it away.
Thanks, Morgan. As Morgan mentioned, my name is Lauren, and I'm an Enterprise Customer Success Manager here at Jotform. I'm so excited to be sharing this demo today to show you how our brand new Microsoft Teams integration can be seamlessly added and used alongside your Jotform account or Jotform Enterprise server as another way to increase communication, collaboration, and productivity in your organization. Today, I'll be working in a demo enterprise server to show you how all of these helpful tools and automations look in real time. Some of these use cases that I'm going to be touching on are examples we've already discussed. And if you're already using Jotform Enterprise, these screens will likely look familiar to you. If you're not a Jotform Enterprise user, as Morgan mentioned, you're still able to utilize our Microsoft Teams integration from the same pages I'll be showing. Additionally, the demo environment we're using today is not HIPAA enabled. However, I do want to note that our Microsoft Teams integration is compatible with our HIPAA enabled accounts. Based on your Microsoft plan and your intended process, you may be able to utilize the Teams integration in your HIPAA-friendly account or server to send data, including protected health data, that's being collected on your forms. If you have any questions relating to your specific use case of Microsoft Teams as a HIPAA tool, please reach out to our dedicated support team if you're a current enterprise user, or if you are currently on an individual account, or simply interested in exploring HIPAA-friendly options within Jotform Enterprise, you can reach out to our sales team for more information. And now, without further ado, let's hop into the system and explore one of Morgan's use case examples, starting with seeing how the Microsoft Teams integration can instantly notify a specific user about a form submission, enabling them to take prompt action. With the recent start of the new school year, it's not far-fetched to imagine that parents have a lot of questions. To streamline this process, our district website features a form where parents can easily submit their questions for our review and response. To ease parents' minds, retain the trust of our community, and provide need-to-know information, it's crucial that we're fielding these questions in a timely manner. To achieve this, our administrative assistant must be notified immediately when a question is submitted. This allows them to either provide a direct answer or forward the inquiry to the relevant department for their follow-up. By using the Microsoft Teams integration, we can send an instant notification to our administrative assistant. They'll receive this alert on their computer if they're at their desk, or on their mobile device if they're away. This immediate notification ensures timely action and effective communication with parents. Here's how we can set that up directly in our form builder. For our demo today, I've already logged into my Microsoft Teams account using my organization's credentials. This is a good time to note that our Microsoft Teams integration is only possible for a school or work account. Personal Microsoft accounts are not currently supported as a part of this integration. In this example, since we'll just be notifying our administrative assistant, we'll select the Send Chat Message option. In the configuration settings for this action, we can select our administrative assistant, John Smith in this case. And then we can add or modify the title message and even opt to pull relevant data into the title from the form submission itself using this form fields dropdown. Next, I can choose which fields to include in the message. Depending on the form's length and content, you might select just a few key fields to include, such as name, contact information, and question. But since this is a shorter form and all of the information is relevant to the next actions taken, I'll include all of the fields. Adding action buttons to the form will allow a licensed user to easily click to view or edit the submission directly inside your Jotform Enterprise server. We'll chat more about this specific option in a bit. And finally, depending on my form's configuration and permission level, I may allow my form respondent, in this case the parent, to edit their response. With this setting enabled, I can opt to send a message in the event that a submission is edited so that my admin assistant can be notified as such. Now that we've selected our designated user, titled the message, and selected the fields to include, we can add options to view and edit this submission and opt to be notified if or when a submission is edited. I'll save my work and my administrative assistant will now be notified when new submissions on our form are received. So let's see that in action. On our website, the respondent has filled out the form asking to be sent a copy of the school semester schedule for their own records. Once they click submit on the form, John Smith is immediately notified in Microsoft Teams so that he can easily see the parent's email address, contact preference, and ensure that they swiftly receive the school semester schedule per their request. As we can see in just this single example, Microsoft Teams integration is an incredibly powerful tool to manage day-to-day tasks and workload in the timeliest of fashions. Speaking of timely fashion, in our world, largely centered around various types of technology, it's of the utmost importance that everything is running smoothly and as intended. Organizations may opt to utilize a form for IT requests or bug reports. Notifying an organization's IT team via Microsoft Teams will allow them to collaborate and resolve the problem for the end user. Let's take a look at an example of how that can be configured now. In any given organization, there's a ton of different devices, accounts, and software being used on a daily basis across a variety of different departments. The IT team can really be the glue that holds all of that together. Ensuring that the IT team is notified straight away when there is a problem, particularly one that's impacting an employee's ability to complete their work, is just another of many uses of the Microsoft Teams integration. To track issues amongst our employees' technology uses, we've created a form that is linked on an internal portal for ease of access to report any problems that arise. With Jotform Enterprise in our example, alongside integrating with Microsoft Teams, I could also opt to enable single sign-on for my server's users and, more importantly, my respondents. With this feature, which is unique to Jotform Enterprise, fields on this form, including name, employee, ID number, email, and department, could be autofilled directly from the employee's directory record. This feature would ensure information accuracy, as well as increase efficiency so that less time is spent filling out the form and more time can be allocated to actually resolving the issue. Before our IT team gets to work solving the issue, they need to, of course, be notified. Configuring the Microsoft Teams integration to send a channel of all of our company's IT experts allows for them to be alerted on the spot. Let's head over to our integrations page to set that up together. Each time we add the Microsoft Teams integration to a new form, it will initially ask us what action we'd like to configure. For our current example of our IT team, we're going to send a message to a standard channel and proceed with the setup. Similar to our last example, the Microsoft account has already been authenticated through Jotform. The good news is that once you've authenticated with Microsoft on any form in your account, that information will be automatically available to be applied to any existing or future forms that you have built in your system, should you choose to also integrate those with Microsoft Teams. Instead of selecting a singular person in this case, we'll select a team, and from within that team, it will then ask us to select the standard channel we'd like to sync the submission data to. Just as it was set up to send a submission to an individual, we can opt to customize the title of the message and select which form fields we'd potentially like to include in that title. For the content of the message notification, since this is a lengthier form, we may consider only selecting a few of the fields, such as the employee's name, department, type of issue, and whether or not it's affecting their ability to perform their daily tasks. When needing to act fast, we don't want to be bogged down with all of the additional details in the message sent to the channel. But having the small preview of what the employee is experiencing will allow the IT department to act accordingly. Additionally, now that we've been selective with the fields, we can also check off the ability to add a button to view the submission directly into that message. Since we're only sending a summary of the information to the channel, the team would need to access the whole submission to know more. Adding this quick link allows them to click and view the rest of the information directly from the Microsoft Teams channel. And of course, once we've made all of these selections, we always want to save our work. So let's take a look at how this flows from the time an employee submits a report to the time IT is notified. I'm filling out this report to notify that my device is not turning on. This is affecting my work and I need IT on it stat. Luckily, with the Microsoft Teams integration, once I press submit, IT is notified immediately and they can get started in troubleshooting and helping me out. And just like that, my request has been sent to the IT bug tracking channel for them to get started on resolving my issue. To best assist, they'll need more information about my device and the additional details I provided in my form submission, as well as how they can contact me for more information. A member of the IT team, who's also a Jotform Enterprise licensed user, can easily click on the View Submission link directly from the Teams message to open the inbox and view the information needed to help me get back online. While the bug tracker channel is a standard channel in our company's team, there may be instances where privacy of information is key, and for that we can utilize the ability within the Microsoft Teams integration to send submission data to a private channel. Using a slightly different use case, let's take a look at how we can opt for data to be sent in a private channel so that only the users privy to that information are notified upon submission of a form. For this example, we're a walk-in clinic. In lieu of having the patient explain their symptoms aloud, potentially in front of a full waiting room of people, we can set up a form for them to check in on a tablet using Jotform mobile kiosk mode, or even have them scan a QR code to enter this information on their own device. Regardless how they choose to enter the information, their symptoms will need to be triaged so our clinic can ensure that people with potentially serious and time-bound issues are seen at once. In order to triage, my clinic uses a private channel within our nurses team. They will review the symptom information provided by the patient and assign them to a room and a provider accordingly before going to retrieve them from the waiting area. Using the Teams integration in this example ensures that submission data stays within that private channel so that only triage nurses are notified and able to view that information as the patients check in. Just like the other setups we've looked at so far today, sending form data to a private channel will follow the same format. We'll select the team and the private channel from the drop-down boxes. We'll set the message title, and this we've opted to include the submission date, which will also include the submission time so that we're able to see exactly when the patient arrived. From there, selecting the fields that we'd like to include in the message. In this case, it may make the most sense to just include all of them to get a full picture of the patient's needs. Additionally, when selecting the fields, though they may not appear in this list in the order in which they are listed, though they appear on this list in the order in which they are listed on the form, the order in which they are selected by me or anyone else configuring this integration is how they'll appear in the message. For example, I selected the question, "What symptoms are you experiencing first?" And then I went through and selected things like patient's name, date of birth, and then they will appear in that order when this message is sent to our private channel. Additionally, when looking At a form where fields may not all be completed and filled, it's helpful to note that if a field is left empty on a form submission, it will not be included in the message, even if it is selected to be included. If there's information in this field added by the patient, it would be included in that alert to our private channel. Let's head over to that private channel now to take a look at how some of our recent check-ins have showed up. As mentioned, since I selected the symptoms question first, it appears first in my message, despite being at the bottom of my form. Configuring the integration in this way allows nurses to see the most prevalent of information first to quickly triage and assist the patient as quickly as possible based on their symptoms. Additionally, patient A in this first message did not provide us with more information on their symptoms, so it was not included in the message at all. However, patient B in this next message did let us know that they've been experiencing these symptoms for quite some time, which may indicate that their condition is more severe. Our nurses can take action to assist patient B immediately based on that information because it was sent to them immediately at the time of their check-in. Overall, whether the data is sent to a private or standard channel, the integration between Jotform and Microsoft Teams does promote effective communication amongst multiple parties and provides an immediate notification to those who need to be alerted to this information. So up to this point, we've talked a lot about simply notifying an individual or channel of a new submission made on a form. But what about other ways to take actual action on this information? Well, let's revisit some of these past examples and discuss how the inclusion of the view submission and edit submission action buttons can be added to an alert to play a role in the workflow. Starting with our first example of the school district's administrative assistant being notified of a question from the parent, we can consider adding the view submission button. This will take us directly to the inbox view of that submission, and we can leave a comment with more information or even denote that the question or task has been completed. This way, other licensed users with access to our form's inbox are able to see that this question was reviewed and actioned. Let's use that first submission to show off this functionality. I would like to denote that I went ahead and sent over the semester schedule to this parent. To do this in a way that could be visible to other users on my server, should there be any discrepancy, I can click the view submission link. Once in the inbox, I can click the comment button to bring up a box to allow me to add additional information or simply write done to complete my task. And we'll send that. So there it is. Additionally, from the inbox, you can also forward submissions. In the case of this example, we may need to consult a specific school, department, or staff member to answer a parent's question. In this same section, but under this 3 stacked dots menu, you can choose to forward the submission to the relevant person to respond directly to the parent's needs. Revisiting the IT example, let's take a look at how you can edit a submission directly from a Microsoft Teams message. Let's say that an employee supervisor filled out the information on behalf of the employee. That's great, but we want to be sure we're reaching out to the employee directly instead of to the supervisor. In the message, we can select Edit Submission to be brought back to a modifiable version of the form as it was filled out when it was submitted. I can edit the necessary fields here before resubmitting the form. When resubmitting, if configured as a part of the integration, we'll receive a new message in that channel with the updated information. Form submission data isn't the only thing we can send to channels or individuals via the Microsoft Teams integration. As a part of our Jotform sign tool, you can integrate with Microsoft Teams to notify a channel or individual that a document was signed. Let's take a look at an example of that now. Our Jotform sign tool allows for the collection of legally binding signatures as a part of agreements, contracts, waivers, and many, many more other types of documents. In this example, we're using Jotform sign to complete a sale. To celebrate the sale win, we want to send the data to a standard channel of all of our associates to boost morale and cultivate a friendly and healthy competition amongst our department. When sending a signed document, the setup is going to be the same as we've seen in our standard forms. We'll have the option to send the data to a standard channel, a private channel, or an individual in a chat message. Once that decision has been selected, we'll need to select the fields. This will also be the same, however, it will have the inclusion of which signer in the flow is responsible for that field. In this case, there are two people involved, myself, the seller, as well as my customer. Here this is denoted by me or signer one. Once the document has been signed off by the customer and information specific to the deal has been added, a message will be sent to our sales wins channel for virtual celebration. Channel members can reply or interact with an emoji to celebrate the success of their colleagues. Additionally, this will add a link that, when clicked, will allow licensed Jotform Enterprise users to actually go in and view the document and its related audit trail. The document can be downloaded directly here from the sign inbox as well. The last feature of the integration I want to touch on is the ability to add meetings to a Teams calendar set up via Jotform's appointment element. You didn't think I was finished when I mentioned that you can send signed document data, did you? I told you this tool was amazing. Let's take a look at how we can set that up now. To pull on a final example from Morgan's use case list, a recruiter has an appointment setting form available for applicants to fill in to chat about open job listings in the organization. The recruiter keeps track of their meetings in the Microsoft Teams calendar, which also in turn is synced to the Microsoft Outlook calendar for seamless communication across platforms. Our appointment element has been added to the recruiter's form for the applicant to select a time that best works for their schedule. The appointment element will need to be manually configured and managed by the recruiter to reflect their availability. Additionally, on this form, we have a file upload field for the applicant to easily attach their resume for the recruiter's reference. Once that is all set up on the form builder, we can pop back over to our integration setup to ensure that this call time, once selected and submitted by the applicant, is added to the recruiter's calendar. To kick off this integration, we're going to select Create Meeting. From here, we will be asked to title the meeting. Similar to titling messages sent from form submissions, I can pull data directly from the form itself, and that will be reflected in the title of the meeting on my calendar. Next, I can select attendees' email fields to send the invitation. In this case, the applicant's email. If there were other email addresses entered on my form, I would also be able to add them as attendees as well. I can then add my start time, selecting directly from the appointment element, and either manually set the duration or have it also pull from that appointment element's configuration automatically. Additionally, I can have data from the form populate in the meeting details, such as the applicant's name, email address, and phone number, so I know exactly how to contact them both at the time of the meeting as well as before and after if needed. Down here, there are options unique to creating a meeting directly from Jotform into Microsoft Teams. The first is the ability to include a PDF of the submission information directly in the message. This is a document that can be customized from within the Jotform PDF editor and will contain information entered on the form itself as a freestanding document. Additionally, I can opt to include uploaded files in the meeting information. In this example, sending the resume is handy for ease of access by the recruiter to refer to during the call. And finally, once I've made all of these selections, I can save my work and get started on scheduling those calls. Thankfully, we don't have to wait too long for our example today. Let's see that in action now. Here we have the form all filled out by the applicant, an appointment selected, and a resume attached. Once Submit is pressed, this data will be automatically added to our calendar and an invitation sent to the applicant so that the recruiter and applicant can connect on the chosen date and time. As we can see here, the calendar that has that newly added appointment with the applicant. Clicking into this entry on our team's calendar will show us the information we need to know about the meeting directly from the form entry. Additionally, as mentioned, this also syncs to an Outlook calendar. This appointment in my Outlook calendar will allow me to view these uploaded files as well as that submission PDF I attached right here. So this would be their resume. When on the call, the recruiter has quick and immediate access to these files to ask the applicant appropriate questions and point them in the right direction for their job hunting journey. As we wrap up today, you may find yourself in awe of all of the things this powerful tool can do. With that, though, you may also be wondering if you're only limited to sending a message to one person, to one channel, or creating one meeting off of a single form submission. That's actually not the case. You can add multiple actions to a single Microsoft Teams integration on a form. You can notify multiple people in chat messages, multiple channels, and add meetings on top of that. The possibilities are almost endless. Additional actions can be added to an existing integration by selecting the Add New Action button and setting them up in the same way we've gone over in our various examples today. So I know that was a lot of information, and that's just truly how dynamic this tool is. These use cases are simply just scratching the surface of everything the Microsoft Teams integration can do when used alongside the forms in your Jotform enterprise account. While I love showing off our product, I do think hands-on learning is always the best route. I encourage you to take what we've discussed today and think about how it can apply to your own organization's workflow. I'm certain that with all of the features this tool has, you'll find something that will work efficiently and productively for your users. Thank you for being with me here today. If you have any questions about Jotform, Jotform Enterprise, and how either could be most effectively utilized with the Microsoft Teams integration, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help. Thank you again, and back to you, Morgan.
Well, thank you, Lauren. That was a lot, but it was fantastic. Really appreciate all of that. Let me go back to my slide so that I can close this out with a couple of resources. And then those of you who have shared questions might have seen that I've been answering some behind the scenes, but there were a number that I wanted to have Lauren show off. So we'll get to those in a moment as well. So just a couple of resources here. So we have two blog articles, one going into this integration in detail for Jotform enterprise users and one for other Jotform users. So this first link here is for enterprise users. Second is for non-enterprise users. And then I have a link to a help guide here as well. So again, just different ways to get similar information to what we've shared today and learn more about what the integrations can do and what you can do with them. So there you go. I would say take a screenshot of that if that would be useful for you right away. I do also want to answer a couple of the questions that have come in myself before I ask Lauren to jump in here. First, we will be sending a link to the recording. So I know that came up a couple of times. That should come to your email within the next week. If you need it earlier, feel free to drop a note in the Q&A and I'll just keep track of those people and I can send that out to you a little bit later today, probably tomorrow once we have this live on our YouTube channel. Also, our YouTube channel is a great resource in of itself. It's youtube.com/thejotform. So you can check out this webinar again, probably tomorrow. And then also have that. Sorry, you can also have access to other, I got distracted by looking through some of the questions. You'll also have access to all of our other webinars, short tutorials, etc. in there as well. So yes, to the recording. Another question that I wanted to answer was about the cost. Is there an additional cost either to Jotform Enterprise or other individual Jotform users for this integration? And the answer to that is no, it is included within your license, so no additional fees there. The rest of these, Lauren, I'm going to share with you. So first, we have a question. I have an HR and staffing company. Can I leverage Jotform for my confidential HIPAA non-disclosure forms, et cetera? So I know you talked a little bit about how this integration can be used in a HIPAA environment, but could you just share a little bit more generally about HIPAA and Jotform?
Sure. So HIPAA, if you're unfamiliar with what that is, it's a legislation protecting patient and private health and identifiable data. So Jotform and Microsoft Teams is a HIPAA enabled possibility of a partnership, meaning that it really just depends on how it's being used by you as well as the type of Microsoft account you currently have. So there's different Microsoft levels of account access, like within the licensing for that. But because of the way that Microsoft as a whole processes protected health information, Jotform has considered it possible to integrate with our HIPAA compliant accounts and enterprise servers. So the way that will work is when you do integrate with this, and I actually do have an example up in a HIPAA compliant server. If you don't mind
Oh yeah,
me
let me stop my.
sharing again. Um, Here, this is a HIPAA compliant environment noted up here in this top left-hand corner. Um, you still have these same options, and you'll be asked, and I've already done so for this example, but you'll just be asked if you agree to send protected health information directly in plain text to the channels. So again, you want to be sure that these are only being sent to the correct people, to the correct channels. Meetings are only being created on the correct calendars for the people that might need to know this information. When looking at the information that you're choosing to send, you can still be selective with what's actually included in the message or in the title of the message. So down here, this which medical department do you want to make an appointment for on my form is marked as a PHI field. However, because I agreed to it, I'm able to send that data in the message to an individual on my account, to a channel, either private or standard, or create a meeting time based around that information if I had kind of the appointment element or date choose element on my form somewhere.
Great, thank you. And then kind of just generally speaking about HIPAA, we do, I mean, as you can see, we do have HIPAA. You can't, sorry, not HIPAA. Lauren, what is that the word I'm looking for? You can have your account, your Jotform account HIPAA enabled
Yes.
as a gold user or an enterprise user.
Yes, that's an add-on. So it's not like default. You would opt to sign what we call a BAA, just saying that you agree to the protection of your information and Jotform's compliance under the HIPAA legislature. And then you'll be able to collect some kind of private health information or identifiable data on your form safely.
Thank you. Thanks for backing me up there as I forgot my words for a minute. Um,
Not a problem.
switching gears. Now we had a couple of questions in registration that Lauren and I had talked through when we met about this webinar the other day, and I'm seeing some of those questions reflected in the questions we have today as well. So, Lauren, one of those is about whether the calendar is responsive and you can get responsive, yeah, calendar if the calendar integration works both ways or just one. So I know the short answer to that is that it does only work in one direction, but can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so our appointment element is going to all be manually set, including your availability, the time slots you're available, a lunchtime. You can also add vacation days, holidays, rolling days. So you can say, like, this, they can only schedule this many days into the future, add a start date or end date for them. This cannot pull from any outside calendar. Um, so that means that if, let's say, I were to on Monday have a meeting put on my calendar outside of Jotform at 10 a.m., it would be my responsibility to go in here and say, I'm not available at 10 a.m. on Monday the 16th. So you would be responsible for managing your own appointment. Without doing that, people on a form would still have the ability to schedule the time, which could cause for overlap. So, just being sure that when things are scheduled, if that's a time that's available on your appointment element, that's being updated. My recommendation after working with lots and lots of our customers is that you kind of set aside time that's specifically added to the appointment element that's not going to possibly have a meeting scheduled on it internally in your organization or something like that, because you can actually set up your intervals of availability. So maybe in this example, I'm free for, these potential applicant calls from 9 to 11 and then again from 3 to 5. But that middle time is when I can eat lunch, but also I could have meetings scheduled by my team or other sorts of task related appointments and meetings on my calendar.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question that you and I talked about the other day was conditional logic. Now, again, short answer is that conditional logic doesn't specifically work with the integration, but Lauren, can you expand on that a little bit as well?
So you won't be able to say conditionally, I only want a message to send if this is the case. So the way conditions are built in Jotform is as if then statements, meaning that if something is true, then we want to do this. So conditional logic is not possible for actually any of our integrations at the moment. They are all or nothing. However, as Morgan mentioned early on in the presentation, you do have the ability to add action buttons to the table to send things to Microsoft Teams. So an admin could go through and, click the action buttons to send the messages at once when they receive them. Additionally, for an example, let's say it's a contact form and some people might opt not to be contacted, and we wouldn't necessarily, like in an ideal world, we wouldn't want those to be sent to our channel at all to not confuse our salespeople or contact liaisons. My recommendation would be to add the field saying, like, would you like to be contacted directly to the message? So that way it's actually posted, in line when the message is received by the person or channel. So we can see no was clearly stated and not, contact them when they wished to not be contacted.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I would say, you can do the same thing if there's, um, Lauren showed, which the order in which fields are added to Microsoft Teams messages. You can always, if somebody's choosing which job they're applying to from a list of four, have that be listed as the first field. So it's highlighted. It's the first thing people see. So, different ways to prioritize certain information, even though you don't have that conditional logic option at this time. Um, Another question, switching gears again. Kelly asked, once a job form submission is received, what does it look like when you click view submission?
Yeah,
So if you wouldn't mind showing that, that would be great.
sure. I did show this. I think that it might not have like kind of reflected correctly because I had them on two separate tabs. But when you click view submission, you'll be immediately brought to the inbox. You can see here on the URL, it's going to take me right to the inbox and to the open version of this submission. So if I click this, it will load up my inbox. I already left that comment during our demo today, but I can also see all of the other submissions. This is especially useful if you do have an approval workflow associated with your forms. If you're comfortable, familiar with them, you know that they can most easily be actioned from the inbox. So you could, take the action there. This is only going to bring it to the inbox view. It's not going to bring it to like a PDF view or a table view, just the inbox view. So just keep that in mind. It will also have all of the other previous listed submissions on this left kind of menu here as well. So you could like navigate down through them and see, if there's anything open, anything that needs to be actioned or taken care of as well, just from clicking that view submission link.
Great. The second half of Kelly's question that I didn't mention, so it was about exporting a document into another program. So would you mind showing the PDF view as well. So we can see what submissions look like in a PDF view that you can then, back up to your cloud storage or whatever you need to do with it.
Sure. So every form by default will generate a PDF version of the submission. This can be used for a receipt, an invoice, a certificate of completion, just a kind of generic confirmation for your records sort of thing. How you choose to distribute this is really going to be up to you. You can choose to attach it to emails. You can choose to attach it to meetings if we're talking about the Teams integration, like we saw, so that you're able to access it. It's not able to be sent, linked in the message itself. But once you're in the inbox, so again, clicking that view submission button, we can actually download the PDF right from here. So again, I can download either the print version of the inbox view or the PDF version of our form directly from here. I kind of touched on this, but you can also forward the submission and you can include it. Like this information will be included, like the same information on the PDF. Also, another question that I did see actually during Morgan's portion was talking about other Microsoft tools and products. So, in addition to Microsoft Teams, we do have integrations with OneDrive as well as Microsoft Power Automate. This will allow you to build automated workflows inside and as a part of your Microsoft instance, meaning that you can send those PDF files, submission data, whatever it might be, to an Excel file, to again OneDrive, to other document storage that you may be using, other portals within Microsoft. You can action Outlook emails to be sent that way as well. So the Microsoft automations are extremely powerful, and if Teams isn't kind of exactly meeting all of the needs, I definitely recommend checking out Power Automate and seeing if that would kind of get you closer to what you're looking for.
Great, thank you. We are getting pretty close to time. I want to try to get through one or two more questions, but I do want to mention I see a couple of kind of specific questions. There's one from an anonymous person. I can't see what your name is. And then another from Muhammad about setting up specific types of use cases. So for you guys, if you have specific questions about how can I use Jotform to do this or that, I'm going to recommend that you get in touch with our support team for those. We unfortunately can't get to those today. So that would just be jotform.com/contact. Or for enterprise, if you are an enterprise user, Lauren, would you share that information?
Yeah, you can visit jotform.com/enterprise if you are interested and you're not currently an enterprise user. If you are a current enterprise user, you can contact our support team directly from the My Form screen using the support link next to your icon in the top right-hand corner. And you can either submit a email request to get a question answered or schedule a Zoom meeting with one of our customer success managers, so myself or a member of my amazing team, and we'd be more than happy to help.
Great. Okay, I'm going to try to do two more questions. Thank you for that. So just again, to reiterate, any questions about setting up a certain type of form or an app or whatever, you can take to those resources. And again, for non-enterprise users, it's just jotform.com/contact, 24/7 online support there. Um, Kim is asking, I don't have a Microsoft admin account to authenticate. If I get IT to authenticate the integration, will the calendar requests be sent from their account or mine? Do you know the answer to that? That's a little bit like in the
I
weeds.
actually, I actually do.
Oh, great. Great.
So it will be sent from the account that you authenticate inside Jotform. So I integrated, as you might have seen when I was going through the integration to this integration support at our Jotform specific Microsoft link. So all of the messages so this is I'm logged in, but all of the messages sent to a channel will be sent from my account. So in that sense, if there was someone like an IT person that that authenticated with their Microsoft account, the messages would come from them to the channel or to the individual.
Great, thank you. And then last question I'm going to be able to get to right now. If a user in Teams isn't a Jotform user, can you share like a table or other data with them to view?
So inside Jotform, they would have to be a licensed user, or the inbox would have to be set to public. Um, my recommendation, if you don't want to add them as a licensed user, is to just include as much information as possible within the message, or you can utilize our automated emails that can be sent to, like, a lot for lengthier information. That's also a place where you can include that PDF version of the form and things like that so that people are kept up to date. But the actual view of the inbox that we can see here by clicking submission, if this is a private access, they would need to be a licensed user. If we set this to public, they would be able to go into the link, but not actually like manipulate any of the data. So they can't leave comments, they couldn't take action on approvals this way, they couldn't forward the information, anything like that. But it is an option, again, depending on the type of information that you're collecting.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, so there's one other question I just want to kind of reiterate something we talked about with conditional logic. So somebody, anonymous, again, I'm sorry, I can't see your name, is mentioned that you use a lot of conditional logic on your forms and share resources for the action buttons. I do want to mention, you can still have conditional logic on your forms. You just can't have conditional logic set up to send this to specific teams. Since would you can you pull do you have a table that you can pull up really quickly so
Yeah,
we
I
can
was just about to pull one up.
thank you. I knew I
Um,
had you here for a reason, Lauren. Thank you. Uh,
yeah. I don't have an action button configured, but it's a pretty easy setup. So here's my table for the same like ask us anything form for my school district. I can just click columns, add new column, buttons, send data to other apps, and then we can say Teams message. And it will take our integration that we've either set up already, or you can add a new one. So Teams will be listed in this list. And then so we'll just say Teams, once this whole thing is configured, um, we'll just select the one I've already set up. We'll create the column, which will have a button that you can choose again, so you can selectively send the data that you want. And then the person, as you can see here, I had John's chat already up. Like, I just received all of those messages. So that's another way you can also control who they go to without just automatically sending them at the time of submission and having them sent to maybe the incorrect person or a team where it's not relevant.
awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'm officially ending questions at this point since we are just about at the hour. I think we got through almost everything. I do see again that there are a couple of you, David, I see your question as well, that had more specific questions. Again, our support team is great for that. So jotform.com/contact. Or you can reach out to me. I'm just morgan@jotform.com. So, uh, feel free to message me for any resources or setup questions. If there's anything technical that I can't get to, I'll have somebody from support reach out to you. I want to thank you all for attending this very long webinar, and especially thank you, Lauren, for such a thorough demo and for kind of reading my mind on any of my requests there. So thank you for going through all those examples, and hopefully we'll see you at another webinar soon. Thanks everyone for attending. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.